The bell rang, signaling the end of another grueling day at Hollow Pines High. Most students rushed out, backpacks slung over their shoulders, eager to escape the dreary halls. But not Max. He lingered in the empty classroom, pretending to organize his notes. His eyes, however, were fixed on the door to Ms. Moonshade's office. Ms. Moonshade was the new art teacher, and she was unlike anyone Max had ever seen. Her hair was a cascade of golden waves, her eyes a piercing green that seemed to see straight through you. She was beautiful, yes, but there was something off about her. Something Max couldn't quite put his finger on. Tonight, he was determined to find out what it was. The school was eerily quiet as Max crept toward her office. The faint hum of the fluorescent lights above was the only sound. He pressed his ear against the door and heard a low, melodic chanting. His heart raced. What was she doing in there? Carefully, he pushed the door open just a crack. What he saw made his blood run cold. Ms. Moonshade stood in the center of the room, her back to him. Her once beautiful hair now seemed to writhe like snakes, and her hands were raised above a bubbling cauldron. The air smelled of sulfur and burned herbs. Max's eyes widened as he noticed the walls covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. But the most terrifying thing was the ring on her finger. It was a large, ornate silver ring with a blood-red stone that pulsed like a heartbeat. Max stumbled back, his foot catching on the door frame. The sound was small, but it was enough. Ms. Moonshade's head snapped around, her eyes locking onto his. Her face twisted into a grotesque mask of rage, her beauty melting away to reveal something ancient and horrifying. "Who's there?" she hissed, her voice like nails on a chalkboard. Max didn't wait to find out what would happen next. He bolted down the hallway, his sneakers slapping against the linoleum floor. Behind him, he heard the office door slam open and the sound of Ms. Moonshade's footsteps, light, almost inhumanly fast, chasing after him. He didn't look back. He couldn't. His lungs burned as he sprinted through the empty halls, out the front doors, and into the cool night air. He didn't stop running until he reached his house, his heart pounding in his chest. Breathless, he fumbled with his keys and burst through the front door. His mom was in the kitchen, humming softly as she washed dishes. She turned to him, her face lighting up with a warm smile. "Max, you're home late. Everything okay?" Max opened his mouth to tell her everything about Ms. Moonshade, the cauldron, the chanting, but then he saw it. On his mom's finger. The ring. The same ornate silver ring with the blood-red stone. It pulsed faintly, just like Ms. Moonshade's. Max's words caught in his throat. His mom tilted her head, her smile widening just a little too much. "Max," she said, her voice suddenly too sweet, too knowing. "Is something wrong?" He shook his head, forcing a smile. "And no, Mom. Everything's fine." But as he hurried up to his room, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. And when he closed his door, he swore he heard a faint, melodic chanting coming from downstairs. The kind of chanting that sounded an awful lot like a spell.